Hi, Kristen, we see that you joined. You want to do a sound check, please?
I'm here.
Thank you, Kristen. Bill Watson or Melissa Livingston, have you joined?
Hi, Jen. Bill Wathan is on the line. He dropped a message in the chat. I don't know if he has.
Hi, Bill. See that you put it in the chat. We do need to have verbal voting, so if you could do an audio check, that'd be great.
Good morning. This is Bill from Orland here in Glenn County.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We do have confirmation quorum. We have at least one action item, 2 parts, and then a consent calendar of 4 items. And we've got a full complement of informational items for you, and we do have a closed session later in the agenda. So at this point, I'll ask for public comment on any items not listed on the agenda.
Jen has her hand up.
Hi, good morning. Thanks.
Good morning.
I'm Jen Tracy with the California Association of Food Banks, and I'm sharing comments regarding CAFB's data dashboard with recently updated information about supplemental security income recipients enrolled in CalFresh since the 2019 eligibility expansion. First, we sincerely appreciate CalSAWS for its support of SSI recipients seeking CalFresh assistance at the Social Security Administration offices, and this approach significantly reduces procedural barriers such as missed interviews that can hinder enrollment. We're also excited that more than 64% of SSI recipients in California have enrolled in food benefits, and these enrollments reduce hunger and boost local economic activity. However, we recognize there is still work to be done to achieve full enrollment and ensure equitable access. Currently, only 52% of Spanish-speaking SSI recipients and 56% of SSI recipients with disabilities aged 18 to 59 are enrolled in CalFresh, compared to the statewide average of 64%. We look forward to continuing to collaborate with partners, including CalSAWS and county agencies, to improve CalFresh enrollment rates among older adults and individuals with disabilities facing hunger. And we have a couple of recommendations. Prioritize making improvements to benefits Cal for Spanish speakers, older adults, and people with disabilities who often face high barriers to successfully navigating online application platforms. And to that end, we're really grateful for the updated Benefits Cal brochures and updates to the Spanish application. We also look forward to continuing to collaborate in the UCD meetings on ways to help people with disabilities. We also noticed when we were looking at data that nearly all counties in migration waves 1, 2, 3, and 6 had a massive spike in denials for SSI recipient CalFresh applications. The denials spiked between 21% and 51% during these migration waves. And these denial increases coincided with the month in or following migration. And in many cases, they continued on after that migration month. So we're asking counties to take a look at your information from your migration waves and see if there's any opportunities to reach out to SSI recipients who may have faced increased barriers to their application enrollment, to their CalFresh enrollment during the migration period. Thanks for the opportunity for comments, and I will put a link in the dashboard for the data dashboard that we created about SSI eligible CalFresh recipients. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much for that input, and we definitely appreciate the link. We'll follow up. Okay, great. Any other public comment? Okay, I think that takes us actually right into our action items.
All right, the first action item that we have is the approval of the FCED Governance Committee member appointments. Thank you, Deborah, for your service on this committee. We now have 2 member appointments, Christine Huber from Stanislaus County and Randy Morris from Santa Cruz County. The second.
This is a single vote, so good.
The second is the approval of the consent items. Holly, did you?
No.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Oh,
these
that's
we
what I
have to
thought.
vote
Okay,
separately.
okay, sorry. Ignore me, sorry.
Okay, so we have the 2 appointments Julia just described. Do I have any questions or comments from our board members or our state partners on these appointments? Any public comment on them? Okay, then do we have a motion to approve?
This is Marla.
I think Greg beat you to
Greg
it,
beat you.
and then I think Marla can be the second then?
Yeah, my second with thanks to Christina and Randy for representing us.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, excellent. All right. Any comments from Adam? No, okay. All right, Kelly,
Yes, I approve.
Bill,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Francina,
Yes.
James,
Yes, I approve.
Veronica,
Yes.
okay, Kristen,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes?
Cynthia,
Yes.
right. Yes.
All right, then we have a consent calendar.
All right, now we have the consent calendar. Holly, if you want to
Yes,
go.
yes, I'll go over. We have 4 items today on the consent calendar. The first up is a work order, ClearBest work order number 7. This includes the QA services associated with the infrastructure transition with Gainwell. And I know we have an overview of those activities coming up a little later in the agenda. But the ClearBest contract itself already included the transition costs, and this work order then authorizes the portion associated with the infrastructure. And it equates to just over $817,000, and it is accounted for in our IAPDU and the CalSA's JPA project budget. The next item is a ClearBest work order with 3 premise items. So work order 8 includes Get CalFresh parity items, which is companion QA services to a work order that was approved last month with Deloitte. This one also includes family reunification and ABOD components for those premise items. And so the funding is approved within our premise category and accounted for the JPA project budget. The combined total of this one is $389,238, leaving a balance of $8.8 million for future orders. The next item is Deloitte Portal Mobile Change Order number 9. This is an extension of the Portal Mobile services through the reprocurement period. So existing scope will just continue as is through August 31st, 2025. It also replenishes change allowance for premise items and other changes. It includes a future optional extension to accommodate a transition period following the rebuilding of Benefits Cal services. That portion will be brought to a future board meeting. So this change order is equates to 25.3 million, of which 5.3 million is for the additional services and 20 million is for the change allowance for premise items and other enhancement services. The last item is portal mobile work order number 17 with Deloitte. This is for one premise item for ABOD exemptions and time clocks for a total of 800,000, leaving a balance of 19.5. Provided approval of the prior change order. And so this is also funding accounted for in our IAPDU and JPA project budget as well. With that, it's back to you, Michael, for questions, comments.
Okay. And a lot of these make reference to premise. So the funds that are supporting these are already in the budget, already reflected?
Yep. So, where noted, it's either covered in the IAPDU, the CalSouth project IAPDU, or separate APD with premise funding. All of which are accounted for in the JPA project budget, which the board approved in last June.
Okay, any additional questions or comments from our state partners or our board members on the slate of 4 items on consent? Hearing none, any public comment? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the slate?
This is James.
I'll make the motion.
Oh,
Okay. James, was that you?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll make a motion.
This is Veronica, I'll second.
Thanks, Veronica.
All right. Marla,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Francina,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and Cynthia.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
All right, that concludes our voting items. So that takes us into informational
Yep.
presentations.
All right. So Arnold, we'll turn it over to you for the performance trends.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. This is Arnold Malvik. I am the Accenture Project Executive for CalSouth. And I'll be able to make this very quick. Things continue to be boring because the system continues to be available. So we have 100% performance on system availability, response times, batch completion, training environment availability, standard report response, security incident response, disaster recovery response, and ForgeRock availability. Our help desk diagnosis is at 98.7%, which was within the target as well. If you take a look at our onshore and offshore metrics, our CalSouth work is really divided right now, and this is across both our infrastructure and our application. At roughly 64% of the work being done by our onshore team, 36% being done by our offshore team. What drives some of that mix is the sensitivity of the data and PII involved. And so based upon the mix of work, you'll see some fluctuation on those things. As far as our quality, we continue to deliver outstanding quality with the most recent 2407 release. We're below 1% cost of rework when the target's 10%. And if you look at our previous releases, again, we're below 3%, which is again, well below that target of 10%. So we are continuing to fire with outstanding quality, outstanding availability. With that, I'll turn it over to Rachel to do Benefits Cal.
Thanks, Arnold. With Benefits Cal, we seek to align with our sister system in CalSouth and maintain 100% performance. And for the last quarter, we have done that as well. recollection that for Benefits Cal, this reflects the interaction with customers and CBOs and what their experience is like with Benefits Cal. So that's what our performance represents on the daily transactions. For our onshore offshore metrics, ours have been consistent. We maintain a fixed percentage as our changes align within the system. We do not have a target, but we have maintained this percentage for the last year and a half as we've gone through maintenance, and it will continue that way moving forward.
All right, thank you, Rachel. Now we can have Sarah join us from Highland to talk about the imaging.
Thank you, Arnold. Good morning, everyone. Sarah Kiewit from Highland to review the imaging SLAs in that gray purplish color. Not quite as boring as Arnold's, but we're getting there. For monthly uptime, the target each month is 99.9%. Unfortunately, the target was missed in July and August, which resulted in SLA credits. Both of these incidents were reviewed during the meeting last month, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but for a quick recap, the July incident occurred after business hours and was due to an unstable database cluster, while the August incident was due to an issue on the Highland product side that caused some session timeouts. These issues have been resolved and measures have been put in place to prevent them from occurring in the future. There have also been a few OCR slowness incidents that have been occurring, so we have time on the agenda later in this meeting with Highland technical leadership to discuss those. For the other two items, the page views and the database transactions, we have a monthly target of 90%. Those targets were met for each month with an average of 98.81% over the last 3 months for providing access to a 70 kilobyte page view in 2 seconds or less, and 99.91% for database transactions completing in 1 second or less. So that's the Highland performance update.
Thank you, Sarah. Michael, with that, we can return it back to you for questions.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying, Sarah, that we'll have an explanation and some discussion about the more recent items, because there have been several, and that's concerning to all counties. So we really want to hear how we're going to handle those OCR issues. Outside of that, do we have any questions or comments from our board members today? Oh, Marla's already got her hand up. Go ahead, Marla.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for the report. Do really appreciate seeing the excellent performance that we continue to have. For the Arnold, for you, for the CalSAWS SLAs, I noticed that it says July through September 2024, and then there's an asterisk that says September performance report is pending. So is the September data included here or not included here?
The September data is included here.
Okay, so we had no system outages from July, August, and September. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from our state partners or our board members? Hearing none, any public comment? Okay, I appreciate the consolidated approach. I think it's actually helping us get the things quicker. We'll go ahead and move on to our next item. Thank you.
All right, we have Benefits Cal.
Good morning. My name is Joel Acevedo. I'm the Benefits Cal manager. Lynn is out today, so I'm going to be doing the release of information ROA work group update this morning. We are currently reviewing with the state partners the all county letters that are in draft form at this time, and we are working together to resolve any comments and provide feedback to the state. We also have CBO information that's currently existing in Benefits Cal that is being reviewed to make sure our customers have available access to provide the exact CBO that they're looking for to release their information to. We have an ongoing process of reviewing with the state partners, stakeholders, as well as the project to make sure that we get all information available to customers to get their release of information to the correct organizations. And finally, our work group meeting, we recently had a meeting on October 7th, and our next scheduled meeting is scheduled for October 28th. That's what we have for release information this morning, and I'm going to hand it over to Owner for the next slide.
Thank you, Joel. Good morning, everyone. In the next few minutes, we are going to be sharing the updates on the Benefits Cal side in terms of the usage and adoption activities. You may recall in the last few JPA board meetings, we were sharing a plan and a high-level framework on the avenues to move the needle for the benefits cause usage and adoption across the board, including some activities for short-term, middle-term, and the long-term. And the next few minutes, Blake and I are going to be providing some overview, what has been done recently, and what is being planned as we move forward. The first thing I would like to share is also I really want to thank our advocate partners for providing an update for the North Stars that we shared in the previous JPA board meeting. In terms of getting the feedback and the input from our counties, a CRFI is being crafted, will be distributed very shortly. So we will be also galvanizing the feedback from our counties to shape out and finalize the North Stars. As we move forward, also define the metrics based on the feedback from our stakeholders. And some of the short-term activities we had communicated in the previous JPA board meeting was around sending some email communications to customers to start increasing the awareness on their side and encourage them to use the online features available in the portal. And Blake is going to provide an update what has been done recently on that area. Blake, if you're on the line.
Yep, thanks, Anna. So the email send went out earlier this week. It was sub-segmented into 2 groups, which is customers without a Benefits Cal account, right? As well as existing customers with a Benefits Cal account that have renewals coming up in the month of October. So I'm going to run quickly through some of the numbers. First, for customers without a Benefits Cal account, the send was around 205K. The delivery percentage was about 90.4%. The open rate was 64.3% or 120,000. And then our link click-through was 5.12% or 10.5 thousand for that, which like industry standards about 2.5, 2.8% there. So that performed quite well. These numbers are as of this morning as well. For existing customers with a Benefits Cal account and a case linked, the send was 282,000, delivered was 95.3%. Open rate was 84% on those. And the click-through rate from links in that email was 10.6%. So performance a little bit higher on that side, which you would expect from folks who are already familiar with the Benefits Cal system. With that, we also have trifold materials that were updated, which is going out today for additional features. And those are all, there's some also translation updates that were done there. Jumping back to the email, it was also, as our previous send, translated into all the other threshold languages.
Thank you, Blake. So as Blake mentioned, these are targeting the customers who are renewals are coming up to you in the month of October. So it is just kind of a one-time set of customers, not the entire university campus, right? It's kind of a targeted segment of individuals. But if you look at the industry benchmark, which is 2.8%, both of these customer segments are performing way higher than the industry standard so far. Of course, these are initial metrics, but the initial reaction is looking quite promising at this point. If you can move on to the next slide. Going forward, one of the items that we are intending to do as we move forward is we would like to visit our counties to talk to our to observe the feedback, hear the feedback from the counties, also observe the actual customer behavior, and based on different demographics and the ethnicity area, if there's any pitfalls in the usage and adoption, but we can adjust, get real-time feedback in the lobbies, as well as what counties are hearing and observing when they interact with the customers face-to-face. Similarly, working with our CBO partners and talking to our CBO assisters to hear their feedback, what they're observing when they work with the customers. And for that, we will be working with our advocate partners to get their referrals, to find out the right, partnerships from the CBOs, some referrals for the CBO organizations that we can work together in this area. For the initial set of visits that we are intending to complete the first set of visits by end of this calendar year before the holiday period ends. And if any additional subsequent visits are needed, we are going to continue in the early of next year. But the intent is galvanizing the feedback across these different channels, the different ethnicity and demographic customer behavior, anything affecting the usage and adoption, any pitfalls that we should adjust. And from the awareness perspective, anything we should include in the communications marketing, perspective that we send out going forward. Since we have spoken about crafting organic social media, crafting customer newsletters and other areas or channels that we have communicated in the earlier board meetings. This feedback is going to help us to specify what actually gets into those to directly address what the customers are expecting and what we are hearing from the counties as well as the CBOs. So we will be more targeted instead of being broad and not specific. So, so that is basically the plan as we move forward from the usage and adoption perspective. If we can move, perfect, thank you. In the next few minutes, I would like to provide an update on regarding the system improvements delivered in the calendar year 2024. This is kind of a calendar year summary, high-level executive summary for the 44 or so system improvements have delivered in this year 2024 to targets to improve the end user experience in general. What we have been hearing through our UCD and the CX channels, the customers are heavily using certain features, right? Doc upload, case linking, account management, dashboard is heavily used, and as well as the renewable application tracker. Customers want to know when they submit an application that it's in the process. Similarly for the renewables and the periodic reports, they have been asking more transparency to see those details where things are in the end-to-end life cycle. So to address those needs, there are some, this is not everything, but these are some highlights we included in the slide. For instance, for the document upload related, we heard from both counties as well as the customers, more clarity, more inline help desk, more examples in the dropdown, so it minimizes the confusion on the customer side, increases the accuracy of the document selection, minimizes the recategorization of those uploaded documents, and less work for the counties in the downstream. So 9 enhancement has been delivered throughout this calendar year so far to address that, and more to come. In terms of the dashboard, there were some updates made in the application tracker, renewal and the SAR7 tracker to provide more details where those are in the life cycle. So instead of customers are calling the counties asking more information, so that's going to reduce and provide more information to the customers. Similarly, EBT balance check is very frequently used feature by the customers. And also a potential bad case scenario if a bad actor has access to their customer's EBT card. EBT 2259 flow has been digitized in the portal, so customers can report any kind of theft situation, any transactions do not belong to them, can be reported through the benefits cohort. All of these were implemented through this calendar year. These are just the highlights. And I will share some updates, what we have been observing to quantify the user observation. One of the ways to look at it, of course, we have been hearing, like taking at the help desk reports, any defects or incidents have been reported from the customers, any uptick from the trend, historical trend versus after implementation of these enhancements. But another way to look at it is what we are seeing in the usage measures. If you can move on to the next slide. So, so I would like to share a trend in terms of the from document upload standpoint. One of the feedback we heard, as I mentioned, customers who are up for renewal for a particular amount, or if their periodic report is due, they were having a hard time to find that category in the lengthy dropdown of different kind of documents. So there we implemented automated logic for that particular customer. If their renewal is due or SAR7 is due, just showing in the top for that customer so they don't have to scroll through to improve the accuracy and timeliness. They were selecting others, then they cannot find it. And we were hearing from the counties that they were getting a lot of other category documents when for renewals and the SAR7s. So after the implementation of this improvement in January, in the top left graphic you see is the renewal. We see the 65.2% increase 6-month to 6-month comparison. This is a kind of a same time interval comparison. A 65.2% in average on a monthly basis increase for the selection of the renewals. Similarly for the SAR7, this is again a 6-month period, July to January for 2023 to February to August 2024. Close to 46% increase on the periodic report selection. So we are seeing that this change is resonating on the customers. It is increasing accuracy on the document selection category. So this is one way of looking at the data. If you can move on to the next slide, please. Another example is the chatbot. The CFI qualified intent of the chatbot was disabled between November and June to include the income disregards logic in the flow. And after implementing that which is a kind of a important piece for our customers. And after implementing the change, with working with our stakeholders, our counties, state partners, as well as our advocate partners, they implemented this change in June. After that, we saw a 7.3% increase, in comparison to April 3 months, like quarter to quarter comparison, April to June versus July through September of this year. So it looks like this also resonated in the customers. And if you can move on to the next slide. Last example I would like to share on the help materials and the YouTube. In the month of end of August, with the August release, we made the change after creating a customer journey maps in the dashboard. What is the customer behavior? And they go to the customer dashboard. Where are they frequently visiting and where they are kind of stuck? So based on the customer journey maps, we embedded the YouTube help links on the dashboard itself so they can get the help where they need, when they need, instead of going to the help center. After making that change, we saw a significant uptick in the watch of the, watch counts of the YouTube videos, as well as the subscription counts. After end of August, primarily in the month of September, but similar trend in the October as well. 95% increase in the YouTube videos after the change in the first month. October is showing a similar trend, and 60% increase in the new subscribers in the YouTube in the first month itself. So meaning customers are liking to access to YouTube videos when they are stuck, when they are confused about usage of the features. So these are the kind of 3 highlights that we would like to share with our JPA board today, for regarding the changes targeting improving customer usability and experience. And the last update on the BenefitScal side we would like to share is about the GetCalFresh to BenefitScal integration. And there were some questions around upcoming sunset coming in the 2025. Any impacts to the counties are anticipated or not? So 3 flows are kind of summarizes here how 2 systems are interacting in terms of the new applications coming through the GetCalFresh right now, and doc uploads, any SAR7 related SAR7 uploads. If a customer works with GetCalFresh and an application comes through the GetCalFresh to BenefitScal, GetCalFresh system triggers an automated script and logs into BenefitScal, and that information is populated with that script to BenefitScal and funnels through the call source system to the counties. Similarly, when a customer uploads a document to GetCalFresh manually updates, logs in with a CBO account to BenefitScal already, and then those documents are also funneling through the Highland imaging system and the call source portal in the downstream. Last but not least, in the periodic reports, when a customer provides the SAR7 information to GetCalFresh, GetCalFresh generates a PDF document and uploads to BenefitScal, again using this CBO account. What this means in a nutshell, right after following the GetCalFresh sunsets, the upcoming traffic is not anticipated to impact the counties, because as of today, that traffic is already funneling through BenefitScal to the counties. So there is no additional traffic is anticipated at this point. There was also, I think, an action item in the previous board meeting. What is the percentage of the applications are submitted through GetCalFresh? That information has been shared in the monthly cumulative metrics report under calsas.org. But just to verbally summarize what the trend is, January through August of this year, in average, around 38% of the applications coming from the customers are coming through the GetCalFresh, funneling through BenefitScal and going through the counties. And that's basically, I just wanted to also address the action item. So that was my last update on the BenefitScal. I will pause here for any questions.
All right, do we have any questions from board members or the state regarding BenefitScal?
Julia, this is Marla. I do have a couple of questions or comments.
Sure.
Thank you for the BenefitScal update. I really appreciate how BenefitScal continues to improve so that access for our community continues to get better. Really appreciate that. On slide 11, the first slide that you talked about with the marketing emails that have been sent, I think those are great. And then I like that you're providing the data about the receipt rate. And I'm wondering, for those emails that get sent that are not received, seems like there's a problem with that email address. How are we using that information to update our client record in terms of the email potentially not being a viable email? Like, is there a note put in the comments in the case? So the next time we as a county go to provide services to that client, we have some information that maybe the email's not accurate?
Thank you, Marla. Yes, short answer, these emails that we used as part of the campaign is in the case record. In CallSource, you already know, we extracted from the case record and we communicate back that information to the CallSource system, so that can be incorporated in the next interactions with the customers, so it can be correct. But of course, I think it may require a customer interaction to obtain the correct information. These are the individuals who opted in for email, right? And if their email address is not accurate or no longer valid, I think that information needs to be validated again. But short answer is yes, it's going to be communicated back to CallSource.
Great, thank you for that. Appreciate that. That's great. And then the second question I had was, this is on slide 15. And earlier, Jen was commenting a little bit about denial rates for CalFresh for SSI recipients. And, you know, in counties, we really care a lot about denial rates too, because denials, you know, mean that maybe community members that could have had benefits aren't getting them. Denials indicates, you know, work that we're doing as counties for people who aren't eligible, and we could spend our time helping clients that are. So denial rates are important, and we want to reduce denials to the extent possible. So on this one, I was curious, this question, see if I qualify, I'd really like to see a correlation between the answer that the person got to this question, and then if they applied in the end, what was the eligibility determination? So are we, for the most part, responding to people, seems like you're qualified, go ahead and apply, and then they are qualified and they're determined to be eligible? Or are we giving people sort of hope here that looks like you might be eligible, go ahead and apply, but then we have a high denial rate for them because in the end they weren't eligible?
Yeah, so Marla, the thing is though, the C5 qualified chatbot is on the homepage. It does not require a customer to log in. You know, you and I can even test a couple scenarios, right, in dashboard and see how it really works, different permutation combinations. To correlate, you will need the session data to correlate the actual customers applying for benefits to the individual who really uses C5 qualify. And the intent of the chatbot is more of a pre-screening information to get a high-level idea for the customers. That would be a bit difficult technically to track that, but it's a great point that would be amazing if you could. Since we don't mandate the customer to log in the chatbot, it would be really difficult to correlate that.
Appreciate that answer. Thank you. That's all I had.
Any other questions from our board members? James. Oh, James. Yeah.
Yeah, good morning, James Lacerda. Just quick question, and it's on slide 11 as well. Just curious, and it's encouraging and promising to see the initial success and in particular the emails being delivered, but are we going to track these folks and see, you know, post October 24, did they complete the renewal? And if they did complete the renewal, did they do so through Benefits Cal? So just interested if we're going to have that kind of deeper analysis, you know, post the renewal month to really track the success of this marketing campaign.
That is definitely a goal, James. It's a great question because the click-through rate is one thing, right? They can click the action to take, but whether they really completed or not is a different subsequent segment. In the downstream, we are definitely willing to do that analysis as well. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Any other questions from board members?
That concludes that item, so I guess we'll move on to the
Public.
Oh, public comment. We didn't do public comment. Any public comment on, well, there's still a hand up. Is that James's
That's
hand
James.
still?
He hasn't put his
Okay.
hand down.
So presuming there's no other questions or comments from our board members or state partners, we'll go ahead and open up the public comment.
Hi, this is Jen from the Advocates Group. On slide 14, it mentions that customers are frequently uploading renewal and SAR 7 documents under the other category, and they have to scroll through a list of document types. But my understanding from our assister partners is that when they do the application flow or the digitized flow for renewals or SAR 7s, they don't get a list to choose from. They're just given a series of options, and most of them say other. So I'm confused about that you're saying that customers are choosing other, but the images that we have, the screenshots, show that they just have only other like other as an option, and they don't get to choose anything else.
Yeah, Jennifer, I think if you can share those examples with us, because technically speaking, if they're, they should be seeing the renewal and the start summons in their drop down if they are logged into their accounts. So if you can share those examples with us, we would love to take a look at them.
Okay, I have sent them over before, so I can send them again. I think I'm just partly concerned that customers are being like named as the problem when I think the system needs to be changed.
Yeah, let's take a look at the data and the examples and we can work on that together.
We'll dive into that offline with you, Jen, and then that way we can get a specific root cause.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Any other public comment? Was that a?
Veronica, did you have?
I did, I added it to the chat. I'm just wondering, since it was mentioned October, I'm just wondering if they're gonna do it for future months as well.
Campaign. So we will work with a consortium on that and the call source teams. It's not a set date for that yet. The intent is to make this recurring because I think one-time activity may not really move the needle significantly. So you'll acknowledge that. And what it takes to make this campaign recurring is something that we are working right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment or comments or questions from our board members or state partners? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to release and policy update.
All right, hello everyone. So let's talk about some of our upcoming releases or prior releases. So in October, we continue to do priority releases every week with up to about 15 items. Just some highlights for you here. Earlier this month, we did run a mass replacement for CalFresh benefits. So this impacted 8 counties, including Los Angeles and San Bernardino, and a couple of our Region 2 counties, and several of our Region 3 counties in the north. This was replacing September CalFresh benefits that were impacted as a result of wildfires in the areas. We replaced 60%. In total, it was about $1 million in replacement benefits that went out across those 8 counties. Additionally, we have a couple of changes coming up. The revised disaster CalFresh values are available, so we're implementing those next week. And we have some report changes as well coming up at the end of the month. Moving on to November, we do have our baseline release in November. It is scheduled currently for the 25th of November. We do have a large number of changes, over 70 changes going in. There's some policy highlights here. We have some correspondence changes going in. The D code there is paid family leave and welfare to work. So changes there in all languages. One of the key priorities going in is related to CalWorks and family reunification. So we are doing a large number of automation changes around those family reunification services, including the cash grant, childcare services, and other services. So we're automating the aid codes, the benefits, per policy. They're available for up to 6 months unless there is good cause being granted for that household. So we're adding batch processes in, and as I mentioned, the good cause as well. So that automation is in test right now and working its way through the cycle, but that's a priority item to get in for our CalWorks households. Additionally, we have some changes. It's that time of year. We have a lot of value changes coming up January 1. So for our CalWorks and our RCA assistance units, there are some resource limit increases that are effective January 1. It's about a 4% increase. So we'll be putting those values in the system. So as workers run EDVC for January, those new limits take effect. As we head into December is always a busy month. It's COLA season. We have a number of changes that we start working through, including the statewide minimum wage increase, running a batch process for that. We also have the CAPI COLA. We're still TBD on that date, waiting on the policy there. And then moving into January, we have our, one of our large colas, the SSA cola that is a multi-step process that will be running in early January. Along with, we also have a baseline release planned for the end of January. We head to the next slide. If we take a little deeper dive on 2411, our last baseline release of the year, as I mentioned, it is in system tests through this morning. We're 58% executed and passed with our test groups for that particular release. We're wrapping up 3. QA partners ClearBest are also actively testing, along with this week county validation activities began for 2411. We're also simultaneously working on those release communications. The webcast is the week before the release. We have the training team working on the newsletter. Major upcoming changes already were distributed and release notes are in draft. From a deployment perspective, green light is scheduled for the 20th, assuming a go there on Sunday, the 24th, we'll begin those deployment activities and post-validation. And it will be live thereafter. And then, as always, the first 3 days of the release, we'll have the daily calls at 4 o'clock for counties to join and bring up any items they see in the release. That's a quick deep dive there. It's moving through the process. Next slide. We did want to take a couple minutes just to give a CARES update from a development perspective where we're at. Michelle, are you out there? I know you want to kick this off.
I am. Thank you, Lisa. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so just a quick update and then I'll pass it back to Lisa. But we continue with our FSED development. The risk that was mentioned at this meeting last month, we've shared a copy of that with the CARES team, and some of our CalSAWS FSED team is going to work to set up a meeting with the CARES team to talk through the mitigation steps to resolve that risk. Last week, we had our first meeting with the CARES team to talk about extended user testing. So this will be the opportunity where the county social workers and foster care eligibility workers will get to test the CARES and the CalSAWS changes related to FSED. So that will be hands-on user testing coming in the spring of 2025. So definitely more to come on that as we get deeper into the planning with the CARES team. So Lisa, I will pass it back to you.
Thanks, Michelle. So this integration is, it's very tightly coupled. We have 14 APIs. We're sending a lot of information between the systems, from individual demographic information, eligibility results, placement authorities. This integration we've seen across, CalHERS and CalSAWS. We have it with Benefits Cal and CalSAWS. This is really the first time for our workers in our across our foster care programs that they will have this level of integration. So we are, spending not only a lot of time from a development perspective, but also there will be some, change management coming along for our workers, as this is, new and different for them, but better, right? In integrating the systems and having that data come across real time versus having to pick up the phone now. So it is exciting, and I do want to cover on the next slide kind of just where we're at from that development life cycle. So the top bar chart there, you'll see we are getting towards the end of our build phase and integration test. This year has been all about designing, building, and doing that internal and cross-system testing of these APIs. Next year is going to be heavily focused on that end user system testing, actually having county staff participate in that hands-on testing that Michelle had mentioned. So from a build and test perspective, we are working this month to wrap up all our build activities. We have a small number of APIs still in build, and we'll then move through the integration system test. So the goal is to wrap up all these activities by the end of the calendar year and really get through that testing. I know we're working closely with the CARES team ClearBase is also heavily involved in this work effort and monitoring all the activities and testing that is occurring as well. So that is the quick wrap up on CARES, and I will pass it back to you, Michael.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any comments or questions from our board members, state partners on that presentation? Okay, hearing none. Any public comment? Okay, again, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to our next item. Thank you.
Right.
Appreciate it, Lisa.
Andy?
Hi everyone, my name is Andy and I'm on the Gen AI team. We are excited to share out an update on key performance metrics and select recent enhancements for Fresno Gen AI Call Summary Assist. The solution went live in 3 phases in June and July, and the data we are sharing today is through the beginning of this month. Starting with the graph on the left-hand side of the slide here, the graph shows the end of the pre-launch period of May 31st and then moves into the following weeks where Gen AI was deployed. All queues were live on July 20th as indicated by the star on the graph. Just after the pre-launch time period, we see some fluctuations in the average wrap and handle times. And as we move forward, the graph stabilizes, revealing a clear downward trend in average wrap and handle time. Since launch, average post-call wrap time has decreased by 17%, with 6% of that reduction occurring in the last 2 months. The average handle time has decreased by 14%, with 4% of that reduction occurring in the last 2 months. Since the average wrap and handle times are continuing to improve over time, this suggests that the monthly enhancement releases are effective in improving the outputs and experience for eligibility workers, allowing them to wrap and handle calls more quickly. Diving into our key performance metrics, we have had over 77,000 summaries generated, 100% of summaries generated within 60 seconds, and an 8-second average call end to summary end time. We continue to see that eligibility workers are only editing around 19% of the Gen AI created summaries, and we are working with the Fresno team to understand what additional insight they can provide into the changes eligibility workers are making based on QA and analysis they are performing. Moving into our select enhancements for a look into some of the updates we have implemented recently, we added acronyms and program terms to the dictionary to improve recognition. We improved the distinction of which actions will be completed by the eligibility worker after the call. And we improved the recognition of when the customer provides an updated phone number or address. We had an eligibility worker focus group this week where we discussed more ideas for future enhancements, as well as their experience using the tool. We were happy to hear that eligibility workers are seeing the improvements from the monthly releases making a positive difference. They also noted that the tool has sped up their work and empowers them to help more families per day. That concludes our updates. Thank you very much for your attention.
Back to you, Michael. Great. Well, we're also very interested in what's happening in that space. Any questions or comments from our board members or state partners on the Gen AI initiative? Oh, great.
Yeah, so the average handle time, does that include, is that the time that the agent's on the phone with the customer, or is that the entire time from the time they pick up until they've concluded wrap time?
Andy, did you understand? Did you hear Greg's question?
Yeah, the average handle time is the time after the call, and it includes the average wrap time.
So it's both the call time and the wrap time?
The handle time, I believe, is just the time after the call, but I might be.
Yeah, Andy, I'll help out with that. It's both.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the talk time plus the wrap time.
Yeah.
And the case actions are included in the wrap time, which is what I was thinking of. Thank you, Dre.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment or question from our board members, state partners? Okay, hearing none. Any public comment? Great. Well, I continue to be excited about the progress on this. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our next item. Thank you very much, President.
Right. So done for infrastructure transition in. Again, I want to thank you for the trust you placed in us in taking on this project. And we did want to, now that we are a couple of weeks in from our contract start date, give you some sense of sort of the concepts or the guardrails that we're using, a quick look at the timeline. And then there is one item I want to make sure that the counties are aware of because we are going to start our first service shortly. So again, back to our general concepts, the biggest one that I wanted to highlight for you today is really that first one, the transition in place. We've had some questions about, you know, seamlessness of the transition and what is the general concept of how to accomplish that. This is really the cornerstone along with the one next to it, which is this concept that we are going to slide into the seats of our incumbent partner Accenture and continue to use their processes coming out of the gate so that you do not notice a change in the way services are presented or completed in the beginning. Now, obviously, there are some improvements and some suggestions we will have along the way, but the first thing to do is transition in place, stabilize that, and then we can worry about additional ongoing change. The second component to work towards a seamless transition is that we are doing this with our ongoing staff. So the folks who are going to continue the service into the M&O period are also the folks that are doing the transition. So there isn't some specialized team coming in, doing the full transition, and then needing to transition again to our ongoing staff. The folks who will be running, leading, and executing the tasks are also the ones that are conducting the transition. The last few items there, I'll just mention very briefly. We are aware of the change management aspects. We do have a cultural transformation manager. We do also know there's a tremendous amount of in-flight work going on. We are working and coordinating with our incumbent vendors, both Ernst & Young and Accenture, on what's in flight to make sure that those progress as you expect and on schedule, and determining the right places to make those transitions if they involve infrastructure. And last but not least, we are working with our transition manager on the consortium side to make sure that we can escalate and work through anything we need to rapidly. With that, I'll go on to the next slide, which just gives you, there's a lot of information here. I just want to give you a really quick concept of how to read this because people have been interested in the timeline. The top part of this, the gray bars, are planning activities. So think of that as our master plan, our work schedule, those items. The bottom part in the blue-green color are work streams. So we have divided the work of transition into work streams, actionable areas where we will take over services. And you can see on the work stream area that a couple of those bars are a lot shorter than the rest. That is OCAT and GAGR. That does indicate that those will be taken over by Gainwell sooner than many of the other items that have a longer line there. The last thing, and it does indicate that at the 1st of November, we will be taking over OCAT services. GAGR, we are also completing a contract transition, but do keep in mind, this is your GAGR correspondence module that allows you as counties to change your templates, and we do your correspondence, and that is already done by Gainwell, so it's really contractual items. The top line in the color is what's currently planned. The bottom line, which is a dark gray, is what we originally planned. And 2 weeks into it, you can see what we are currently planning and what we originally planned are the same. So you would, in the future, potentially see something with a shorter top line, ahead of schedule, longer top line, behind schedule, and we will be discussing that if that should occur in any situation. And then last but not least, we do have one item where we do have a county impact. I'm hoping you'll find it to be a positive one, but we want to make sure that you are aware, and we are using the usual communication channels to discuss that. But Gainwell will be taking the OCAT application and infrastructure over effective November 1st. And in doing that, you should be aware that your county's staff have been using a one-off process to access assistance regarding OCAT. So that has not been coming through the normal CalSAW service desk process. It's been a separate side process with Ernst & Young. We are going to consolidate that into one process. So even if it's an OCAT concern, you will now simply use the one-stop shop of the CalSAW service desk and that county ticketing process. So that'll also cause this to transition to ServiceNow, and that JIRA instance that they have will be able to shut that down. So again, you will use the existing process, the same one you've been using for quite some time to get access to an assistance from CalSAWS. There is a CIT coming out today to make sure that everyone is aware of that. The regional managers have been fully briefed on that because this process will start October 28th. We do need to start that on a Monday because a deployment is required because inside of OCAT, it directs them to this special one-off process. We need to direct them to the CalSAWS process. So October 28th, your staff will access assistance for OCAT via the standard CalSAWS service desk process, and all those communications are coming out today. And with that, Michael, it's back to you.
Great. Any questions, comments from our board member state partners on the OCAT on the transitioning? Okay, hearing none.
Hi,
Any
Michael,
public
this is
comment?
Marla.
Oh, did we have? Oh, Marla, thank you.
Hi, Michael. Really appreciate this update. This is something that's so important for us to get right, this transition. And so thank you for this detailed update. I just going to continue to appreciate updates on this, and I'm particularly interested in where we land with governance around escalation for problems and sort of rapid decision-making around solutions.
Thank you, Marla.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Marla. We'll make sure to dive into that and be as clear as possible about how that's going to work for all the counties. So thank you for that input. Any other comments or questions from our board member state partners? Hearing none. Any public comment? Okay, then we can go ahead and proceed to the next item.
All right, well, this is our county highlight portion. We're introducing to the JPA board meeting. We're gonna be sharing a quick video of San Bernardino County. Thank you, James, for making this available to us. The San Bernardino has a live chat model, and some of the great things that they're doing in terms of WEX participants using this live chat model to also give them attain some critical job skills. And so we just want to share this highlight and invite the other counties too. If you're doing this work, let us share it through this forum. So with that, I'll turn it over. There's a quick video.
Years back, I was in a very toxic situation and I had to do better for myself and my son. So I removed myself from that and I applied for benefits, and they let me know about WEX program because the job I had prior shut down permanently. And I got selected to be a web chatter at CSC. That position gave me confidence in being able to help people, because if this person needs resources, if I can go on Google and find it for them, I would. Pretty much we're just like a guide to like step by step on what you have to do to replace a EBT card or just your documents that you needed. We would just guide them on where they had to go. It was great. I loved it there. I love CSC. It was amazing. My supervisors were amazing. And they also told me, hey, you know what? Whenever a job comes up, apply. And a couple weeks go by and I get an email. And I'm like, oh my God, I got it. So I took the job and here I am now at Park, training to be an EWN, and it's super exciting. I'm like excited. I did it. Everything is much better now. No more toxic situation. And this transition now to, becoming an EW it's better because I know I can, there's room for growth and I can promote. What I would tell customers or just anyone, don't give up. Envision yourself doing better. Check out the WEX program. Look at me. I went from receiving benefits, WEX program, now I'm at EW. It's possible.
Great, thank you, that's great. So WEX is San Bernardino's Welfare to Work program. And James, do you have anything you want to add to that video?
Yeah, and thank you, Julie. I appreciate that, and thank you for carving out some time this morning and at JPA to highlight this this model that we have. And this will officially be my best part of the day. Anytime I see that video with Taisha, it's just incredibly inspiring, and I just love the creativity that the staff had in looking at a business need and then creating that opportunity for the WEX participant to gain that valuable experience. And Taisha, just on a personal note, she's just such an amazing human being. And I got to know her in making this video and hearing her story, hearing her journey and where she's at, and just really a really neat thing that we did. And I'm just really proud of the team for coming up with that, again, that creative opportunity for WEX participants. So, but thank you again, Julie and team, for taking a moment to highlight this. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, innovation isn't just about technology, right? Sometimes it's just doing things differently and adding different processes, and this is a win-win situation for everyone. So happy to brag about you.
Well, thank you very much, James. We're really, really proud of all of our county's efforts and San Bernardino to be able to highlight one here. We want to make this kind of a more regular thing where we're actually showing some of these innovations and initiatives that are happening down at the county level, taking advantage of our technologies and platforms that are out there and available to our workers. And these stories, probably every single county, all 58 counties have some kind of a story from a participant becoming an actual employee, and they're pretty powerful. So we're going to want to highlight more initiatives and things like this as part of our agenda, just to keep it real for everybody and also keep us grounded in what we're doing. So this isn't just about a technology system. We're really about what we're doing to deliver services to the public. So thank you, James, for being the first highlight we've had on this journey, and this will be something you'll see more regularly as we move forward. Any comments, any input or questions from our state partners or our board members on that presentation, that highlight? Okay, any public comment? Okay, great, then we'll go ahead and move on to our next
A
item.
couple years back,
We liked it so much.
So nice
that
we hear it twice. All right, Tom.
Hello, it's a tough one to follow.
I know, warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, and we're going to non-warm and fuzzy. We're moving along fine on our Benefits Cal procurement. We do have one additional item that we'll add in the next update is we've issued Addendum 5, which includes some of the enhanced appeal processes that the appeal review panel from M&O have identified. Other than that, we're on target. The evaluators are evaluating and doing a great job of it.
All right. Tom, you're a ghost, but thank you for that update.
My camera's on, but I don't seem to be appearing on the screen.
We don't see you, but we have heard.
Oh,
there we go.
Out. There you are. Okay. Is that just in time for the conclusion?
Yes, just in time.
All right. Tom often is the quickest presenter we have, so holding up the candle on that one. Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments from our state partners or our board members on our procurement? Yeah? Any public comment? Okay, then we're going to go ahead and move on to our next item. I believe that was circling back to our colleagues and friends at Highland to talk about these OCR issues we've been having.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Sarah Keywood again from Highland. Thank you for the additional time today to allow us to provide an imaging infrastructure update on the OCR processing slowness that occurred recently. I would like to note that as we go through the slides, not all of the information we are presenting today is on the slides, and that's because there's been additional updates and progress since we submitted those slides. So we'll be talking through those latest updates. So to provide the information today, I'm bringing in some of our technical expertise and leadership. So I'm going to turn things over to Jason Gormley, Vice President of Technical Support, and David Luzier, Senior Vice President of Engineering. So Jason, can you get us started?
Can do. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody, for your time today to allow us to provide an update for this for you. I'm going to go over the first couple of slides, and then David will fill in on the last one with a lot of the technical details. So this first slide, as Sarah said, is not fully up to date. There's one more timeframe event on October 15th that we're also going to touch on here today, and I'll speak to those here as we go through. The impact of these events resulted in a subset of task generation and customer reporting updates being delayed for up to 3 hours. During these times, however, the images were viewable, searchable for workers, and workload inventory was updated to indicate new documents were available. We're going to walk through these couple events here and the impact in the summary next. So the event on September 23rd was due to a back-end database process that removes temporary working data. That background process was not keeping up with the daily ingest, which resulted in a degraded database performance. The other events that were listed here on the screen, including the one on October 15th as of this week, which is not listed here as we said, were related to backlog in our import and export queues during peak hours. We have identified and rectified all said things by scaling the environment to ensure there's adequate capacity for not only these queues today, but also in the future. David will speak to exactly what we did on the final slide for more additional details. Next slide, please. Here's a good timeline event on each of these different items as we've kind of progressed through these. Again, the October 15th, 16th, and 17th items are not listed here, but I will speak to them here shortly. So the dark blue boxes there represent a notification to end users that an event is occurring and that there is a delay in processing. The gray line represents the monitoring throughout the event as it's being resolved, and it has been resolved, but we're still in an active monitoring state to ensure normal processing times. And then the black diamond at the end of that shows the notification was sent to counties that the issue had been resolved. The lighter blue little asterisks there are when Highland were taking actions to resolve each of those items. The 15th, the one that was not shown, is when we did identify another item of which were resolved on the night of the 16th and then continued to resolve and broadcast sent as of the morning of the 17th. On the next slide, then David will get into a little bit more of the technical details about the scaling, throughput, and prevention that we were putting into place or have put into place already. David?
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. My name is David Luzier, and as I was introduced, I am the Senior Vice President of Engineering here at Highland. And for the OCR improvement and optimization, we really focused on these 3 areas: the scaling, throughput, and the prevention, and I'll touch on each of those. So if we look at the scaling, as Jason talked about some of the performance and backlogs, which we saw on those occasions, what we did is we increased, added additional compute power to address those backups, both in the ingestion or the import and then the export areas of the system. And so the import and the export, all of those have been completed, are now in the production environment. And then also we did also scale up the PCR components, which is on the perceptive content side. So as we increase those import-export queues for this scalability to meet those volumes, we also needed to do that there as well. On the throughput, we're looking at the database optimization that Jason talked about. That was completed on October 7th. But we did notice that there's additional things that we need to do on the database cleanup. This is in reference to those temporary files that are flowing through the system on the brainware side. So they're only temporary files, but those batches need to be cleaned up. And so we started optimizing a stored procedure to clean up those temporary files. And so that has been progressing. We are tracking that and trending it. And at this point in time, we feel like that will be completed by the end of this year, cleaning those up. And that is something that we are doing and on target for completion by the end of the year. We are also in the process of reviewing the entire solution design and architecture to look at the configuration itself to make sure that we can not only meet the volumes of today. We know your volumes will continue to increase, so we want to ensure that we're actually adding more processing power, compute power for meeting your needs, not only today, but into the future. And so it's a collective group between support, professional services, and many folks in my area in engineering, as well as the cloud team, to look at those volumes, anticipated volumes, so that we're ready for those volumes as they continue to increase. And then finally, in prevention, what I'd like to talk about is that what we're doing is we're looking at monitoring that we can do so that we can be more proactive versus reactionary when you all run into potential issues. So we're setting queues up and monitoring on the volumes that are coming in. What is that SLA processing time? How many documents, or what we call batches, are in these different queues, to be able to see that if we're starting to see an uptick, that we can start to add additional compute power as needed, versus waiting till we identify that there's an issue and then needing to then add additional horsepower. So this will be more of a preventative maintenance, but putting these monitoring in place so that our cloud team can continue to monitor that, monitoring those average processing times, and doing those proactive steps to correct that before you all see any types of issues. So those are the three areas that we're working through today, with some updates now and some work that's continuing. So with that, I'll pass it back to you all.
Okay. Thank you. I know we've been encountering these issues for a couple months now. So I'm just curious, a lot of these fixes have been more recently implemented. Did it take that long for you guys to identify what the causes are, or were there other things you tried before this that didn't necessarily have success? I'm trying to get at how confident you are in these solutions, or do we have a design level issue, architecture issue here, which is one of the reasons why we hadn't implemented this at the beginning, because we're concerned about performance impact. And I want to know, is this one of the things that we'd end up having to consider discontinuing if performance continues to be a problem? I know that's
very
a loaded
confident.
question.
It is, no, but I appreciate the question. I'm very confident in the steps that we've taken. I think it took a little bit longer to, get all of these changes in place that I mentioned. And I can get into greater detail, but I was trying to keep it at a high level because I am a geek and we'll get into too much detail. But we didn't want to change too many things at one time, right? So if we start changing too many things at one time, then we're not sure what the issue is. But what we looked at when we saw the increase in volume that was coming in from Benefits Cal, we could see that on the original 10 servers, what was happening is that OCR process can be pretty CPU intensive. And so those import queues, those were running on some of those same servers, right? And so what happened is they were being basically starved for processing power to be able to keep up with the amount of documents coming in. So what we did is we actually and I'm trying to get to the date, on October 16th, we added 4 new servers and we moved the import processes over to those servers. So they're no longer fighting for being able to keep up with all of the OCR and the classification and extraction, which can be very CPU intensive. So we added these 4 servers on October 16th, and both the import and export processes are on those 4 servers. So they're segmented off, they're dedicated now. And so they're no longer going to be fighting for that compute power, if that makes sense. So to answer your question, very confident in the approach that we took. We moved over the import processes first and to kind of prove out that theory. And then we moved the export processes over the very next day on the 17th. So very confident in that. But again, as I mentioned, we are looking at the holistic solution to see if there's other scenarios that we would change for the configuration. What the focus here in these challenges were specifically with Benefits Cal, but now looking at the complete solution and see if there's additional configuration changes we may want to take. But I also believe that monitoring and being able to check things backing up in queues, what's that SLA, what's that processing time of documents, looking at those in real time and being able to do preventative action versus reactionary when you all identify that there's a problem. I think those 2 things in combination really give us comfort. We're moving in the right direction and really get you in a great place after we finish implementing the monitoring aspect as well.
I don't know, my memory might be getting a little bit aged here, but this sounds a little bit like something else we had done, and I don't know if it was on Benefits Cal or not, where we were having to split off like logins versus something else. But somewhere in the project, I just can't remember where we had to split off something like this. It might even have been in imaging. But when will we know if this is working or not?
Well, I think typically at the beginning of the week is when some of the peak volume comes in. And so what we're seeing already, the trends are moving definitely in the right direction and getting to the processing times that we would expect. We're not seeing any backup in any of the queues, no backups on either the import or the export, which is what we saw most recently. So I think, again, so we're already seeing that it is working. But typically at the beginning of the weeks is when you have higher volume. So I think, seeing a couple of instances of that, early part of next week, I think will show us that we're definitely moving in the right direction. But what we've seen so far in the monitoring that we're doing today, we definitely see significant improvement prior to these changes.
All right, well, I'm glad that there's an architectural look at this, because I don't want to just end up in a trial and error, keep trying this approach. So we'll check back in and keep this on and keep reporting out on status on this, and really want to know if we need to pivot the whole effort or if this is a pathway to success. So questions, comments from our board member state partners on this detailed presentation?
Marla, I think you're muted. I think you have a question.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, I do have I guess more of a comment here. So I just want to articulate that I appreciate in your prevention column here, the dashboards and monitoring that's visible to CalSAWS. I think that is really important so that we can collectively sort of anticipate something that might be coming and really get those things fixed overnight so they're not impacting our daily operations. So I appreciate that partnership, and we're in this together to provide the best services for our community. So thank you.
Absolutely. And we've got a lot of teams working hard to get that done as soon as we can. So we're working hard on it. Thanks, Marla.
Also, I'd like to have more data context on the value we're getting from this service and how much the transactional impact is occurring, so that way we can continue to look at our value prop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments from our board member state partners? Any public comment? Okay, then that closes out that item. And I believe we have, we're going to be entering a closed session, and then we will return back to conclude the board meeting after the conclusion of the closed session. So those who are board members, go ahead and enter the new closed session. Is it already available for them to enter?
Yeah, they'll go into waiting room as soon as I get in there, then I'll let everybody.
So go ahead and switch over to that, and then we'll return for everyone else for the conclusion of the meeting. Thank you. Are we on?
We're on.
We are
Okay.
not.
We're coming back to our public session and just reporting out off of our closed session item. Our action is to continue with contract negotiations. And that's the last item we have on the agenda. I do want to highlight that our next meeting is November 15th, 2024. It's at 12:30, so it looks like it piggybacks the CWDA's meeting then. So we will see you guys all there, and I appreciate you being here on Friday. Thank you so much. Any adjourned.